relationships. I was stuck in the past, I had to reminisce. I was moving too fast, I had to make the flip. I was stacking the cash, but had to cop a zip. So every time I was smoke, the bag diminishes. When I was falling apart, she was my leverage. Shorty fell from the sky, she might be heaven sent. Fell on top of the world, this might be Everest.
All we need is some property around the board monopoly. Hey man, welcome to another episode of KIAB with Benji. And today we're talking about vulnerability. Now, I believe the biggest indicator of someone's strength is their willingness to show who they are. You know, when you meet someone who is able and not afraid to show you the good, the bad, and the fugly, my nigga, you cherish them. And I had one of my brothers tell me that my willingness to love, my generosity, and my overall realness is my superpower. You know what I mean? I truly didn't understand what he meant at the time. You know what I mean? But the more I speak to people, the more I put myself out there, the more I realize how emotionally caged the world is. Now, I spent years hiding from the world, hiding from my pain, and go for myself in clouds of Mary Jane, you know what I mean, corn and all that shit. You know what I mean? Straight bars, by the way. Video games. None of this shit ever made me happy, though. You know what I mean? It was just distraction. But vulnerability has allowed me to love me for me. It's allowed me to build true connections with people that, you know what I mean, I would never think of talking to, just because I didn't talk to anybody for real. But most importantly, it's allowed me to stop pretending to people, pretending to myself, you know what I mean, to anybody I meet. I'm just always real with anybody I talk to. I'm very blunt when I do that. Something I'm working on, by the way. You know what I mean? But I used to pretend that I'm okay. Excuse me. Fabricating, you know, like my reality, like just my mental stability. You know, like just being a liar. I didn't like myself. You know, that part of me had to die, you know, in order for the person that you're listening to right now to live. You know, for a long time, I wasn't being true to who I was. You know what I mean? As soon as I moved from VA to Baltimore after my grandfather's passing, you know, I basically started to hide from everything. You know, I was so quiet, rarely said much. The friends I made, you know what I mean, were the only ones I felt comfortable enough to be somewhat me around. You know what I mean? Because I always still caged myself in, even though I had my friends. And, you know what I mean, I talked to them just like friends, but I didn't talk to them about shit I was going through, because men don't do that. You know, it's not something that you're supposed to do. Quote unquote, supposed to do. You know what I mean? They didn't see me for me. You know what I mean? Like, I was a young man suffering in silence for a long time. You know what I mean? I disregarded that side of me, you know what I mean, just thinking one day it would go away. You know what I mean? So I stayed I stayed smiley, you know what I mean? Had a good mood around everybody I was with. I wasn't like the life of the party or anything, but you would never think I was a young nigga going through mental shit on a daily basis. Of course, you know what I mean, I truly believe that, you know, when it comes to your mental health, ignorance is not bliss. You know what I mean? You can disregard a lot of shit in your life. You know what I mean? People, materialistic things, but you can't disregard you. You know what I mean? This world is built off of relationships. The one with yourself, the one with people around you, friends, boss. But the first thing that I just said, that relationship with yourself, that's the one that we neglect the most. You know what I mean? I was one of those people who, you know what I mean, I made others feel good so that I could feel good. You know what I mean? I basically allowed myself to be validated by how others felt about me. You know what I mean? But I myself was not validating myself. In my opinion, like vulnerability is the key to self-worth. You know what I mean? It's the key to love, the key to happiness. You know, all things we as humans just care for and we long for. Nobody wants to admit it, you know what I mean? But we all desire those things. Love, companionship. I think vulnerability is the only way to get to that. And you hear me saying vulnerability, but do you actually know what vulnerability is? Are you able to actually be that? The word vulner in definition is the to be able to be mentally, physically, and emotionally hurt. No, add ability to the end of that, the ability to be emotionally, physically, you know what I mean, hurt. And it doesn't mean that you're weak because you're vulnerable. Honestly, it's a strength. You know what I mean? If you're able to let people in, I mean, allow people to see you for who you really are, you know, not hiding that, that's a strength. Without being hurt, my nigga, you can't heal. And if you don't know how to heal, you will always be wounded. And if you can't heal properly, those scars will continue to form. Those barriers will continue to rise. Those walls that you have up will never break down. And you're always going to feel that sense of emptiness. And some of those scars are visible. You know what I mean? The ones that are the type of people that don't say nothing. The type of people that push you away as soon as you talk to them. The ones who, you know, you can tell they going through something. You can just look at somebody and be like, damn. And I'm the type of nigga to say something to him. Say something that might make him feel better. Or just have a conversation with him. You know, I go to the gym a lot. And there be people in there. There people in there that you can see like, you know, they want to do better. Or you know what I mean, they struggling. You know what I mean? I'm the type of nigga that's gonna go over there and try to help. Try to give them a little pointers. Try to have a conversation. You know what I mean? Make them smile. Because that little one interaction, you never know what's it gonna do. Like what it might do to that person. You know what I mean? One conversation could literally save a life. One little small interaction could change somebody's life forever. You know what I mean? Depending on what you say to that person. Like that's how strong words are. And when those words are genuine and they real and they're heartfelt and somebody feels those words, that shit's strong, man. If I see those walls, I'm gonna try to break them down. Because I've lived with walls my entire life. Now, recently I have became more comfortable with who I am, um, you know, externally and internally. You know, used to look in the mirror and be like, not enough. I don't look good. You know what I mean? I worked on that. Worked on my mental. Worked on my physical. Now I feel like I'm that nigga. Know that I still have more to grow. Know that I still have flaws. Know that I'm not perfect. But I feel more comfortable than I ever have in my entire life. me being comfortable as hell, me being really comfortable with myself, I've realized certain flaws that I truly have to work on. I'm a very brash, blunt, just genuine nigga who just says whatever the fuck is on his mind every single time. And I realized that, especially when you trying to find a shawty, that's not how that doesn't really work. You feel me? You know what I mean? You have to filter yourself. When you talking to a man, you can be as blunt as you want, and you know what I mean. But with shawty, it's a little different. You gotta be more chill, more whatever. You know what I mean? And I had this I was going through that in my mindset, like what's going on? Like I can walk up to any woman and just be me, say who I am, type shit. But I had a question. I had to question my niggas, like, yo, like I'm gonna get like I'm really trying to connect with these shorties that I got on my phone and shit like that. But it's like I think I'm coming off a certain way. You know what I mean? And it was like, well, what do you be saying like after after you spend that genuine time with them? I was like, all right, so what I basically do is I be like, hey, if you fuck with me, that's cool. I fuck with you, you know what I mean? But if you don't, you can go. Niggas started dying. I'm like, I don't like, yeah, I don't say it that brash, but I do be like I've said this many a times. I've said like, yeah, like you cool and I fuck with you. But if you ain't really feeling it, then you can go because I don't got time to waste that energy. And I really realized that one, that's very off-putting. It's very blunt. It's very real. And you gotta throw some sugar on that shit. You feel me? It's shit that I had to learn. Like I said, I ain't perfect. It's still shit that I have to go through as a man. Gotta figure shit out. I've been me. I've been caged in for so long. You know what I mean? Like just who I was, or who I am. I've been caged in for so long that now that I'm truly me, you know what I mean? I can be a dick. That's me being real. Like that's me being honest. I can be a dick. You know what I mean? I can say certain shit that can be off putting, can be overbearing, can be condescending. And it's never intentional. But it's something I gotta work on. Like even with this podcast, even with my music, with my music, it's pure emotion. You know what I mean? It's just I put my heart and soul into that shit. And the words I say on that, they're real things that happen. And it's real pain, real trauma, you know what I mean, just real life shit. But with this podcast, I realized that, you know what I mean, I might come off as preachy at sometimes. I'm telling somebody what they should do, and I don't want to come off that way. I don't say the shit I do. I don't tell nobody to do anything because I think I think they should do it. You know what I mean? They should just do that shit. Like I say it because I've done it. I say it because I've done it. And for me, the mental work, that physical work is paid off for me. You know what I mean? I don't know how people see it when they listen to it, when they hear me say it. You know what I mean, I have conversations with anybody, man, woman. But when I do, you know what I mean, I don't do small talk. You know what I mean? I have actual conversations and I say basically the same shit that I say on this podcast to the people I speak to. And I always ask, like, do I come off preachy? Like, am I saying something to you that is off-putting? Am I being too blunt? And the only reason why I do that is because, you know what I mean, the shit that I'm saying, I mean it, but I don't want to make somebody feel, I guess, like they're not doing enough, or or they misinterpret me, like I'm judging. You know, I don't want to come off that way. You know what I mean? I'm just being vulnerable. I'm being real, being honest with anybody. You know what I mean? And that's a dangerous game as well. You know what I mean? It's cool and it's great to be vulnerable and open and honest. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Not hide any bullshit ass attentions. You know what I mean? Just being a solid nigga. That's cool, but it's also we can be taken advantage of. You know? Like I said, my nigga said I had a big heart, and I do. You know what I mean? I've let people use that. You know what I mean? Man, female. I've let them use that. I mean, but that was in the past, and that's because I needed somebody to validate me. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't even know how I even became like that. But there's one thing I really truly don't understand, and that is why is vulnerability so demonized? Why do people see that as a taboo word? I think a lot of people don't know what it truly means. I don't think people understand the power of it. You know what I mean? I mean, like I said, this world revolves around relationships, and you can dance around every little question, every little topic I talk about. You know what I mean? Whether that topic is taboo, you know what I mean? Whether that topic hurts, but if you're not real when you're talking about it, like you've been hurt and you're not really talking about it. Somebody asks you and you just disregard it. That hurt's still gonna be inside of you. It's still gonna fester in you. So why not talk about it? I know it's not that easy, but growing up ain't easy. I mean, you think it's easy to not say shit? You really think you're better off not expressing that? You know what I mean? You smoked up to your lungs, you drinking every night, and you think that it's gonna go away? And I understand people have their muses that they go to. You know what I mean? I'm blessed enough to have this, me speaking on shit like this, and my music. I believe everybody should have that. Everybody should have that muse. Ooh, that Baltimore came out. That muse to express what they feel. You don't gotta speak it to anybody. Before I started speaking to people actually, and reading up on just mental health and emotional intelligence, shit like that, I used to write in I still write in my journal, not as much as I used to. I used to write that shit every morning, every day. Now I write on it maybe like every week. Just try to summarize what happened in the week. But yeah, I got a journal. You know what I mean? And ain't nothing wrong with that. I feel like all those thoughts in your brain, they gotta go somewhere. Either they're gonna stay in your brain, they're gonna fester inside of you, or you can just write them out. Put those words on paper. See how you feel. You know what I mean? Because you're not thinking when you're writing. What you're writing is exactly how you feel about yourself, and you need to look at that, dissect that, and work on it. That's a step of being vulnerable. You can be vulnerable towards yourself. That way you can be vulnerable towards others. And I try to stress that. Because if you're not vulnerable to yourself, then you will never be able to be with anybody for the long run. I mean, maybe you can find somebody else who is also hurting, and y'all do like a trauma bond type shit. You know what I mean? Y'all come together and y'all cry each other's eyes out with each other, which is something I did. Okay, it's something I did. You know what I mean? I had a shawty come over one day, and we had a deep ass conversation, and she said something that happened in her childhood that I had related to. Internally, I didn't understand what I was relating to at the time. I had to do some meditation and some deep thoughts to figure out why that shit happened and why I had that reaction I did. And the reaction I had was I had teared up. But that's not healthy. I'm not saying it's not healthy to cry, but it's not healthy that I had some random emotion pop up. You know what I mean? And I didn't understand why. And she had asked me why I teared up, and I honest to God, could not give her an answer because it was so deep rooted in my psyche that it just popped up. Whatever emotion, you know what I mean, whatever memory that I had, it just popped up in my head. And shit like that can happen to anybody. Whether it's somebody crying, whether that's somebody exploding, you know what I mean, just getting mad as hell out of nowhere. Somebody's whole mindset flipping and doing a whole 180 on you. One day they just this perfect guy or perfect woman, and the next day they whole different person. You know what I mean? That shit that really happens like that. You can be having one conversation with somebody, and then in that same conversation, you say one little sentence and it just takes them off. You know what I mean? That shit is very powerful. You know, the human mind is a very powerful place. Now, a lot of people don't really take the time to actually understand that mindset, that mind, themselves, other people. They don't take the time to do that. I mean, I read, and I should read more. I mean, I'm doing this shit, so I feel like I should definitely read more. But the shit I read, you know, it has definitely helped me become a better man. Um, it's made me more emotionally stable. It's made me more punctual as well. I mean, I read books like The Human Nature by Robert Greene. This book is just basically about human psychology. You know what I mean? How the brain thinks, how we not sympathize with the world, how we view the world, how we view ourselves. You know what I mean? And you know how we vent, shit like that. Like little things like that, understanding why you're doing the things that you're doing and why you're thinking the way that you are thinking. Shit like that is important. You know what I mean? Like back in the G, I used to be so down bad, not knowing why. You know what I mean? Now it's like I snap my fingers and I know exactly why I'm feeling like shit. And I can flip that mindset around with the swiftness. You know what I mean? I used to be so down, you know what I mean? Just in my crib, like fucking not doing nothing, bro. Staring at my TV screen like, what the fuck am I doing? I mean, I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but that feeling right there, that feeling is empty. You know what I mean? And it's not that I didn't want to do something. It's like I felt so down bad that I felt like I couldn't do nothing. I don't get that feeling no more. You know? And I don't want nobody to have that feeling ever. Because that feeling is a lonely one. It's a dark one. It's not a good feeling at all, man. I'm talking about vulnerability right now, man. That real shit. And something that we all want. It's just love, man. And no matter how many bodies you got as a man, no matter how many bodies you got as a woman, you know, it doesn't matter. You feel me? Everybody want that one person for the rest of their life. Or everybody wants to be in a relationship. But do they want to put in the work? Do they actually want to put in that work? Because that shit right there, it's not just the other person. It's also you. You know what I mean? And if you come into that broken, all you're going to do is eventually break the other person. I've been through that. I've been through that stage of my life where I speak into a broken person. Try to build a connection with a broken person. Try to build them up. Try to put those pieces back together. And I was broken at the time as well. So it's like a broken person can't help a broken person heal. Somebody who's healthy can't even help somebody who's broken heal unless that person wants the aid, you know. And that's why I ask people if I'm being preachy. That's why I ask people if I'm coming off too strong, because I mean, especially a woman, if I'm getting close to a woman, I'm not about to be spending energy with somebody who's broken. Like, everybody has pain, everybody has traumas, and I understand that, but you know what I mean? I would want to be able to help you. But if you just disregard the help, it's not that like you're not trying, because you can, like, as long as you're trying, that is perfectly fine with me. As long as I can see the progress, you know what I mean? I can see that you're listening, that you're actually putting in that effort for yourself. Not for me, but for yourself. Then I can rock with you. But I can't rock with you if I'm saying some shit and you just disregarding it. The next day you doing the same thing. You know? And I know I'm in the minority when it comes to this type of this speech, this type of this way of living, I guess. You know what I mean? I read something on the internet. It was saying like there's 7 billion people in this world, and that only 2% of the people really go through their mental work. That is a very sad statistic. S words are hard for me, if you didn't realize. That is a hard statistic, you feel me? Only 2% of the world's population is going through their mental work. That means everybody walking around this world broken, man. Or most people. Most people walking around with traumas they ain't here. It's just sad, man. It's sad. And it's not that they can't get help, or that they can't help themselves. They just choose not to. But if we really being real, like, who is pushing mental health? Who's pushing vulnerability? Who's pushing anything shit like that? The news ain't. Social media not. Your parents not. Your friends not. Ain't nobody pushing that shit. Don't nobody give a fuck about that. Nigga, you spiritual? Ew. Nigga, you working yourself? You read, nigga? The fuck? That shit goofy as hell to me, man. Especially us as a black community, man. If we all did certain little shit like that, just work on ourselves, read a book or some shit, get some knowledge, you feel me? Some actual real knowledge. niggas would be unstoppable, bro. Unfucking stoppable. But now we rather just be in the trap. Rather just be doing some dumb shit. Rob a nigga shit. Take a nigga shit. Put the dash in the whip type shit, nigga. Fuck 6ix9ine, bitch ass nigga. I ain't gonna cat though. Like shit just sad as fuck to me, bro. You know 6ix9ine got jumped, by the way? I just saw that shit on Instagram. That shit is wild. I don't know who he got jumped by. It look like a bunch of jabronis. But he got his shit whacked. And that shit fucked up, bro. You know what I mean? Say your prayers for 6ix9ine, yo. But real talk though, like vulnerability is just so important to me, man. And I don't expect that from nobody. I don't expect them to just be vulnerable as soon as I talk to them. You know what I mean? Because vulnerability is one of the hardest things anybody can do. You're trusting somebody with like parts of you, you know what I mean? But the thing is, oddly enough, because I'm a very vulnerable person, so when I speak, I share certain shit that most people don't. And it's not off-putting, you know? Like, it's not off-putting to where they don't want to speak to me again. You know what I mean? Like, I might share some certain shit like an insecurity. Like I was at work and I was talking to this nigga, right? And I was telling him how I was in high school. You know what I mean? I told him I was very introverted, very not ladies man nigga type of nigga at all. You know what I mean? My hairline was not done. Had the dusty ass high top fade, all that shit. And and it just made him open up about, you know what I mean, his high school, how he was. You know what I mean? And just certain shit like that, just being open to expressing something that is an insecurity, or, you know what I mean, something that wasn't, I guess, the best experiences of your life. Just sharing that little thing like that can make somebody open up with the swiftness. You feel me? And you can build a connection quick. You know, me and this nigga not friends or nothing, but you know what I mean. You spending what 10 hours with somebody, and you can have a conversation for what 6 of those 10 hours or whatever. You know what I mean? That's a long ass conversation, and to not run out of something to say because, you know what I mean, you just sharing life shit. That's amazing, bro. Because I know most conversations that I hear on some like if you go to a fucking barbershop, nigga, they talking about sports, they talking about women, they talking about dumb shit. You feel me? And I have no problem with conversations like that. You know what I mean? I can have a conversation like that all day, have that shit with my niggas. But those are my niggas. You know what I mean? I'm having that conversation with some random person that's talking about sports. I mean, I'm gonna lose interest real quick. You know, because I don't really give a fuck that much. You know what I mean? I just, no, it's weird. Like, I don't understand why that vulnerability shit is just so, it's just not talked about. You know what I mean? That's cap, because I kind of do understand. You know what I mean? You know, none of us are ever taught growing up. You know what I mean? Unless you got some A1 day one parents, none of us are really just taught how to deal with our feelings, deal with our emotions. You know what I mean? Nobody tells us what to do when we're feeling this way. You know what I mean? Nobody does that. Not your teachers, not your parents, not your friends, nobody. And it's like when you meet somebody who is like that, it's they're an anomaly, man. It's like why are you sharing this? You know, why are you so comfortable with your insecurities? Most people aren't. Most people hide those. But being vulnerable, it's like it it just doesn't allow you to be as hurt as other people would, you know? I did have a question though, like does the world really want vulnerable? Does the world really want vulnerable men? Especially men, because I think women they're allowed to be like on the emotional side. Like they're allowed to be vulnerable, they're allowed to do that. But men, they not, you know. Men can't really express what they feeling right now, what they going through. But does the world want vulnerable men? Does a woman want a man who's going to be able to express his emotions, effectively, without like brashing out, yelling, just simple communication? Does a woman want a man who is able to cry? None of us are, no man growing up is allowed to cry, allowed to feel emotion, Just think about it, like you in sports, You're told to nut up. You're told to stop being a bitch, stop being a pussy, which is basically saying like stop being a woman, which is it's fucked up when you really think about it. It's like, so feeling sad, crying, that's a woman emotion. That's generalized as a woman's emotion. As if men don't go through the same shit. Like we not all human. We're not allowed to be vulnerable. Well, the world tells you that. And I ain't telling you nothing. I'm not asking you to do nothing. I'm not saying what you should do. I'm just saying what I do. I'm real, I'm blunt, I'm honest, and I can be vulnerable. And have no problem with that. But others aren't. I, it's crazy because I find it easy to connect with people that I have genuine conversations with. Because small talk make my eyeball itch. You feel me? So it's like I just don't do it. I can't be talking about dumb shit. So when I talk to anybody, it's real. It's real conversation. It's genuine. Like we ain't talking about no nothing. You feel me? And that's just because I'm vulnerable. It allows me to be able to hear things, say things, that most people wouldn't. Like I said, I believe vulnerability is the key to everything when it comes to that human interaction, that genuine human interaction. I don't believe in putting up a facade for anybody, so I won't. I do have to learn how to be more smooth with it. You know what I mean? Throw some sugar on that shit. You feel me? I gotta learn how to do that. But other than that, like, I'm gonna keep on being me when it comes to this. You know what I mean? And you gotta realize this too. If you're able to be vulnerable, if you're able to express your emotion like that, some people are gonna run away from that, and let them. I mean, don't ever try to force your vulnerability on somebody. Don't ever try to force what you feel on somebody. Like, oh, I told you this, so why aren't you reciprocating? Nah, you say what you feel, you say what you say, and if they feel it too, they want to reciprocate that same notion, then cool. But most people aren't. You know what I mean? So you had to balance that. That's something I had to learn. You know what I mean? I'm not speaking off for no bullshit. That's something I had to learn. I mean, but I truly advise you to advise. Nah, fuck that. I would say this is what I've done. You know what I mean? I've gone through my mental work. I've gone through my physical. You know what I mean? I've put myself out there. And I'm not afraid to be hurt. Not as much as I used to be. I'm not afraid to be seen. I'm not afraid to speak my truth, speak my pains. And you shouldn't either. You know why? Because you're human. And everybody got them. Stop living in fear. Fear that if you say something, if you do this, then somebody's going to look at you in a certain way. Their opinion doesn't matter. You know what I mean? If their opinion is that you a fuck nigga and you just so happen to be a fuck nigga, then maybe it matters and you should probably change your ways. But overall, their opinion don't matter. What you think about yourself is what really matters. If you can see that you're flawed, if you can see that you have things that you have to work on, but you're a genuine person, ain't no really stopping you, bro. Anyway, that's been my fucking TED talk. Thank y'all for tuning in to Keep It a Benji. I hope everybody stays blessed. Everybody stays beautiful. This has been Vulnerability. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Can't wait till next week. Peace.